right?
Yeah, before we bring Leroy in, though, guys, I want to remind everybody that you can score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there is absolutely no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So you guys can go visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL.
Leroy.
What's up? It's Rick and Q.
What's going on with your fantasy team? You got to set your lineup.
Dude, look, I was done after week 1 when
Self-checkout.
3 of my starters got hurt, and then I tried to go on the waiver wire, and it was like doo-doo. I'm like, all right, I'm done.
Hey, Leroy,
Man,
listen,
oh,
I was
man.
watching the 94 highlights. You didn't tell me you was getting screen game like that. I didn't know I didn't know your screen game was like that, Leroy. I see you
That's
scoring.
all I did. No, seriously. I ran screens and check downs and all that. I had more catches for a guy that didn't have any plays designed for him, thanks to Bernie. Right?
Crazy. I was watching it. I'm watching the season. I'm like, this guy, Leroy, is just getting the ball I'm like, how many screens they throw a game?
from all different positions, because you keep in mind back then you could do that wham block.
Oh yeah,
right?
Oh yeah.
So I would basically go in motion like I was gonna wham block and just run all the way to the other side and catch a screen, and it just blew everybody's mind.
Hey, you know how many rules have been changed since you've been playing? They took the whole playbook. They like, that was my bread and butter.
In Leroy's second season in the league, he had 9 receiving touchdowns.
That's
He's a
crazy.
monster.
That's crazy.
A fantasy.
That was
monster.
your best year catching passes statistically. You had 48 catches, 567 yards. That's almost 12 yards per reception.
That's kind of crazy.
That's great.
And I
9
didn't. And keep in mind,
touchdowns.
no plays were designed for me, except
Yeah,
one game.
nuts.
Except one game, and it's the craziest thing in the world. Here's what my job was for an entire game, right? I don't care what the play is. I don't care what the pass pattern is. I don't care. Here's what I was told. You start behind the quarterback, right? You look and see what side Reggie White is on. You then motion over there and chip him. I don't care what the play is, whether it's a run, a pass, or anything, for an entire football game. So here's what happened. So we were running, I had a pass pattern, and we went through this during the week. I said, what if that guy comes off the slot? You chip Reggie. Yelled at me. So I chipped Reggie. The slot guy went right by me. I turned around. Bernie threw me the ball, 65.
That's crazy.
And everybody's like, wow, look how they did that slow release for him. I'm like, what is that?
That wasn't a slow release.
I have no idea. That's not what my job was. My job was to get behind the quarterback, look around, there's Reggie White, and then motion over there and chip him. That's it for a whole entire football game. I had no carries, no nothing.
Yeah, Leroy, in his second, third, and fourth years in the league, had more receiving yards than rushing yards.
Yes.
Full threat.
No, it wasn't. Please.
By the way, I didn't remember. Leroy,
Huh?
I didn't remember that in '96 you played for 3 teams. I knew you played for Baltimore and Minnesota, but I didn't know you played for Carolina that year too.
Yeah. I wore 4 uniforms in a 3-month stretch.
Oh, who was the 4th team? You didn't play a game in the regular season.
The Browns moved to Baltimore.
Gotcha.
Then I went to Carolina, and then I went to Minnesota. And the funny thing, when I was in Carolina, we went and played Minnesota, and 2 weeks later, I was on Minnesota's team.
So did you get picked in the expansion draft for Carolina?
No. We were their first year was our last year in Cleveland.
Okay.
Right. So it was crazy because, you went to Baltimore, and I thought, okay, new coach, let's get this going, or what have you. And I guess they just wasn't having it. And to this day, let me tell you, I'm not a petty guy, right? But to this day, I know who they replaced me with.
Wow.
And my last words when I left Baltimore was this. Oh, I don't know if it's a mistake or not, but y'all can find out. Do your research. In 5 years, look at my career and look at Van Morris's career.
Wow. I forgot about Ben Morris. Wow.
Yep.
That is
So in 5 years, when it was 5 years. How about this? In 5 years, I came back and played in Cleveland with Minnesota in the first preseason game. I still have I scored a touchdown. I still have it, right? And they go, "How does it feel to be in Minnesota?" And the only thing I said was, "How's Van Morris doing?" That's it.
petty.
Like listen. And my only problem with people in football, you can complain about a lot of things about me, but you can't complain about how hard I play. And that's got to mean something to somebody. Mm-hmm. You can put whatever twist you want on it, but a running back playing hard and taking that pounding for a whole football game is hard to come by.
Yeah.
So you go ahead. They gave Bam the big money, brought him in. He was there for 2 seconds. And so every time I put on that Vikings uniform, I look at the numbers and say, I'm still playing. I wonder if they could have used that. Go about my business.
Well, Leroy, speaking about running backs,
Yeah.
Pierre Strong had his kind of breakout
Yeah.
game for the Browns
He looked good.
this past
I like
weekend
him.
against Seattle, and we had this discussion all week, and I'm curious what you think. Is he the best healthy running back on the Browns right now?
You're assuming Jerome Ford is banged up, right?
No, I
No.
was even counting Ford in that discussion.
We like him better.
I like him a little better.
I would say this. They're different runners, right? And that Pierre Strong is more of a downhill guy, and Jerome Ford, they have almost put him in a situation. Hold on.
I think
They put him in a situation where he does a lot of the stuff around the outside. So I would say that I
Bless
knew it
you.
was coming.
Bless you.
That is part of the situation with that. And so it looks better because Pierre Strong's doing all the downhill stuff.
Yeah.
But so that's why it looks that way. So I would say they do more Pierre Strong's more like Kareem Hunt does, right? And they do Jerome Ford stuff more like they do those wide receivers.
Right.
So it's hard to compare. But I would definitely, if I had a choice, I like what Pierre Strong does up the middle. I just think that they should have did it more at the end of the game.
Fair.
Now listen.
We've had this conversation a lot, right? And it's
can we-
fool. You know what it is? Coaches get caught up in fool's gold, right?
Okay.
So remember earlier during the game, they had them third and shorts, second and shorts, and whatever, and they rolled P.J. Walker out, and he make that throw. Boom, boom, boom. Consistent, right? So you get those moments in the game. Now, you know the game calls for you run as much time off the clock as you can, and you don't put nobody in harm's way, right? And then you kick it down the field, and then you go, here's what we got. Our strength against whatever you put out there. Right? That's what I thought was going to happen. They throw a couple of passes, the clock doesn't run. Now you give Seattle the ball on a turnover with the ball and a timeout. So it's not ideal, right? But I just wouldn't have put that offense in that situation when too many times we look at the Browns offense and say one of the strengths of the team is running the football, and we get to those critical moments in the game and they throw a damn pass. If I'm going out, I'm going out swinging. That's the way most coaches think that way. If I'm going out with what I do best. If you stop it, good on you. But we never got to that point because they threw passes. But that's near.
Now, in fairness, the defense should have made a stop, and they could have still won the game.
Again,
Get it
yes.
done.
Again, yes. And that's the part that kind of gets lost in all this.
Yep.
Is that you still, have a defense who's the best in the league, and they should have came up with a stop. Right?
Yep.
And so that, and to make it worse, pass the ball right down the field, which is right in your wheelhouse.
That's right. Hey, Leroy.
You see? So yeah.
How tough, the Browns are getting the worst quarterback play in the league, right? Deshaun did not play well. I mean, he played well in the Titans game. Outside of that game, they've gotten terrible quarterback play. P.J. Walker, in his career, 6 touchdowns, 18 turnovers. This year, 1 touchdown, 6 turnovers. And yet they've somehow won 2 out of 3. When you're the other players on the team, or especially if you're the defense, I know you played offense, but if you're the defense and you play and you're like, we're playing really well each week, it's hard. I mean, does it wear down the defense knowing that you have a quarterback that can't really win a game for you? Or is that not
at
fair?
all? Not at all. What about when the offense had to score 39?
Yeah, fine. Same thing.
But that's what team football is.
Okay.
You do what you got to do to win the game, right? If you know your offense is struggling, I remember this was 2001. I want to say the year that Baltimore won the Super Bowl. They went 5 weeks and didn't score an offensive touchdown.
Right.
And won the Super Bowl that year. I don't want to hear it. You do whatever you can to win games. Every game's different. Every game's going to present itself differently. But you got to do what you got to do to win the game. If that means no offense and all defense, so be it. If that means no defense and all offense, so be it. The sign of a Super Bowl champ or a sign of a contender is those teams that can win in a multitude of ways. So right now you're telling me that this team can only win a game one way? We've seen them win a number of ways. You just got to find a way to get it done. Whatever's going on that day, you got to find a way to get it done. Now, from a coaching perspective, you can help with that to some extent and try to keep your guys out of harm's way. And I'm not saying, look, I've liked some of the decisions that P.J. Walker has made at times, right? And what do you do about hitting a guy in the face with a football? Right? There were guys open. That being said, like what do coaches say? There's 3 things that can happen in the passing game and 2 of them are bad.
Yep.
I don't ever want to be in that situation with a young quarterback that has 6 touchdowns and 18 turnovers. Right? So why put him in it?
Yeah.
Get out of this as quick as you can. Punt it, get him deep, and then go look at Schwartz and say, go get him.
Yeah. Before we ask another question, let me just give you this update. Deshaun Watson is speaking as we speak. He was asked about playing Sunday. He said, quote, I'm not even sure. Just following the medical. Said he felt good after yesterday's practice, quote, part of the process, part of the protocol. So,
it's really here.
Either he's not saying or he doesn't know if he's starting yet.
Here, let me say this about his injury. It's really tough to get a good idea of what you can or can't do because you're not doing football game day stuff, right? So you can go out there and practice and warm up and throw 20 or 30 balls in your 2 7-on-7 and team drills, right? You can do that. But that's not what happens on Sunday. So what you try to do is build on that. The other thing that you have to realize is this. He ain't falling on it, getting hit on it, or anything like that.
Right.
So that's another complication that doesn't really play into it. But I do know, and everybody that I've talked to said, as far as throwing the football, that is one of the most painful things to have. Because you don't know if you lift your arm, whether you're going to have the strength to throw it 40 yards or 4 yards. And that's the chance you take every time you rear up to throw the football. So I don't know what healthy is going to be because he could go a whole week without feeling any pain. And then during the course of the game, try to rip one, and now his arm feels like it's going to fall off. I don't know what people think. What the hell you think partial tear means?
Yeah.
We talked
Right?
about it with Bernie.
So let's stop making this, about, he should be out there playing, or if he can go today, it's a tough injury. It's hard to navigate through because you can't simulate what you're going to be doing on Sunday. So if you try to do that on Wednesday, you could possibly lose it for 2 weeks because now it's inflamed and sore for another 2 weeks. So what you try to do is get him to the point, build up to Sunday, and then see how it feels on Sunday. That's all you can do with this injury because I promise you, in the offseason, he may need surgery.
Well, Leroy, what kind of
and nobody wants to hear that, but that's the reality of that injury.
Well, Leroy, what does that do though for the rest of the team potentially showing up to a game on Sunday? You don't know if Deshaun's going to start, PJ's going to start. You haven't got the reps in practice. We saw it against Baltimore the first time with DTR, and that did not go well. So, is that a bigger concern than maybe we're all taking into account for?
I think everybody's more prepared now, because here's the problem. Okay, here's the thing that messed this whole thing up. These words. You ready?
Medically
He's cleared to play.
Yeah.
Right. Once that was said, now you got teammates, you got defense, you got offense, you got coaches, you got fans. Everybody's saying, why isn't he playing? He made $230 million. He's cleared to play. And now 4 weeks later, we're seeing what his actual injury was because they didn't say right away. Right? They made it sound like he had a little shoulder boo-boo. Now all of a sudden, a month later, you're hearing, he's got a tear, and we don't know how he's going to respond. How about leading with that, so that everybody understands what this man is going through to try to get back on the football field? That in itself would lend to a better in locker room situation. You see, so it's going to be tough. I don't know how much he's going to be able to do because, again. I tore my rotator cuff and played a year on it. And I couldn't lift my arm above my shoulder. And that was in my left arm. So I can't imagine any quarterback having any type of rotator cuff injury and trying to throw a football. So people need to understand that we don't know. You don't know what he's going to be able to do. And the scary thing is as a player, Deshaun Watson doesn't know. And that's scary to everybody, even him, because he can't answer a bunch of questions that people want answers for because he doesn't know.
Well, Leroy, I would caution Deshaun Watson on trying to answer questions from people who have never been hurt, had a hangnail, got punched in the face, never been in a street fight, never put their hand in the dirt, and they go to work from 9 to 5 and still be calling off because they got a cough and cold. We're not talking to those people. I think one thing that's a little frustrating to me is you came on this air last year and you said something about the Cleveland Browns' identity. The frustrating part about it is, even though they don't have a Deshaun Watson, even though they don't have their franchise quarterback or Nick Chubb, you still can see the seeds in the foundation and the building blocks of a dominant run game, and they've just never quite accepted what they are. Just if you accept it, they could win games right now as is with PJ Walker, DTR, and the run game. It's crazy.
You know who's accepted it? You know who's accepted it? The 49ers. Mm-hmm. This is who we are. Come get some, right? This is the way this Cleveland Browns team is presented to us, both offensively and defensively, especially up front, right? They've bolstered that defensive line. Look at what that line does, right? So everybody kind of has an idea of who and what this team is, except for the people that matter.
Except what?
Except for the Browns.
Except for the people that matter.
The Browns are 2-1 in their last 3. The Niners are 0-3, so I don't know about that.
Well, they've got a lot of injuries, though.
So do the Browns.
But not at what they do best.
The Browns quarterback's hurt. Yep,
You said the Browns run the ball best, and they lost Nick Chubb.
They lost Nick Chubb.
And have they slowed down running the football?
Yes.
Like
No,
the numbers?
because of lack of doing it.
No, they've run
Right?
the ball a
I
ton
get
the last 2
Nope.
weeks. What are you talking about?
Nobody's going to be as good as Nick Chubb. We
Right.
understand that. But
The Browns have been a middle-of-the-road running team since Nick Chubb got hurt, and they've run the ball a ton. The last 2 weeks, they've run it like 60 times.
More.
they need
More
to.
than that.
That's
But you guys are both saying they're not doing it. They are doing it.
no. Once again, situational.
That was one play.
So one play can
The
cost
defense, stop them, and end the game.
one play.
Okay, is it
Just
easier to
cost you a
stop them
game.
at midfield or stop them inside the 20?
What's that?
Is it easier to stop them at midfield or stop them?
Well,
when
you say
they're
that as if
inside
it
their
was a
own 20?
guaranteed first down on a running play. We don't know that.
Leroy saying if they had to punt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you give your
So
defense a
while
chance to
you
punt-
saying, hey, here, why you
Yeah.
saying they ran it? They run it plenty enough.
Oh, I see what you're
I
saying.
say
It's a punt.
that game could have been different if they ran it one more time.
Yep.
We'll never know. If the defense would have stopped them.
But we have this conversation a lot. We have this conversation a
A
lot.
whole lot.
Where at the end of a game the damn clock is stopped
Leroy,
for
they're
no reason.
They're 4-3 with the worst quarterback play in the league. I can't complain about the coach.
Sure you
No,
can.
I'm not complaining. Listen, nobody has been giving flowers to Stefanski more than me. Because
Okay.
as much as everybody gets on him, I say you better give him credit for this. Right? You better give him credit for Jacoby Brissett having his best year as a pro. You better give him credit because guess what? This team in this locker room is different. Okay?
Yeah.
For whatever reason. It's not the same old Browns the way they were looking, who's our leader, disgruntled. Everybody in there for themselves. This is the first time in a long time they kind of actually look like they're playing as a team. Right? Where nobody's looking frustrated and stuff like that. But that being said, if you have boy, let me ask you this.
That's me.
See,
Talk to this man.
Talk
Talk
to
to
me.
his
if you
soul.
have,
By the way,
if
I
you have,
thought they should have ran on that play too. I did.
If you have the worst quarterbacking in the league, why would you leave it up to the quarterback?
Hey, listen, I don't disagree. I would have. I hear you. I said on Monday too I would have run the ball there. I don't think it's the most egregious mistake a coach has ever made, as some want to make it seem. But I would have run the ball there too. But in the end, the defense still had the opportunity to stop them, and they failed. Even if you stop them for a field goal, you can go to overtime. But I agree with you.
Correct.
I would have run the ball in that situation. Yes.
All right. I'm just saying.
We come
I'm just
together.
saying. Like,
See how they agree
we
with
can-
you,
we
Leroy? They
can-
don't want to agree with me. See, I'm Duke.
No, I said it Sunday. I said
Duke
it
and knee
Sunday.
jerk. I be moving my
I said it Sunday on that play.
Hey, you got to see, but you don't know how to do it. See, I hit him like them spam callers. Is your electric bill over $100? You know what I'm talking about? Them so I hit him. I say, hey, bull. You saying they got the worst quarterback in the league, right? Right? Why won't you run it? See, get him. So you gotta play the game, man.
I hear you. Hey, listen, I'm with you on that play. I
be faster.
just disagree that they haven't run the
gotta be
ball enough
quicker.
in general. But on that
Here's
play,
the
I
other
agree
thing.
with you.
Here's the other thing.
Yeah.
Is that the only thing in that moment that is your friend is a running clock. Now, it was right around 2 minutes. It would have stopped anyway.
Yeah.
Okay? But the way you did it, you gave them one play with no timeout, with one timeout and the 2 minute. So you gave them an extra timeout. You see what I'm saying?
No, it would have been a 2 minute warning either
It would have been
way.
a 2 minute warning, Leroy.
But you should have run the ball. In that situation,
right.
you should have run the ball.
So go ahead.
No, I was gonna say goodbye. But you got something else to say? Go ahead.
No, I ain't got nothing else to say.
All right.
Oh
yeah, let me give you this real quick before you go. Who you got? Kansas City, Miami this week. Who's winning that game?
I got Miami, and here's why. I just think their offense at this moment is more explosive. But I will say this. This is one of the best defenses they'll face all year. And I know because they have Patrick Mahomes, we ignore that. Their defense is really good, especially
Yeah.
up front.
Yeah.
So I'm scared that Tua might get a bunch of balls batted because Chris Jones is a monster, right? And so I just hope they move him a little bit. But I think offensively, they're more explosive than Kansas City right now. Kansas City methodically moves the ball down the field and haven't scored a lot of points lately,
Nope.
to be honest with you. So if it gets to that point, I think Miami could run away with it.
Wow. Leroy, good stuff, man. We'll talk to you
All right,
next
man.
week.
Thanks,
All
Lloyd.
righty.